Going around Mount Rainier by myself, ultralighting, a solo backpacking trip, just me and God. Well, let me tell you how I experienced basically hypothermia. Probably is the reason why I'm not all together. No, I am, I promise. So, ultralight backpacking, as I mentioned, is very, very cool because it's very demanding, not just physically, but mentally as well. When I did some mission work in Nepal, which is awesome, so many cool stories about terrorists there and guns and machine gun nests, and oh, more stories to come about Nepal. Well, when I got back from Nepal, I was in excellent shape. And I was like, hey, I'm this 19-year-old kid, and I'm going to go up by Mount Rainier and, run around it as fast as I can in 3 days. I timed it so that I could actually hit the lodges around and get food from them. For example, the second day round, I'm going to hit up Paradise Lodge for lunchtime, and I'm going to get a burger. Oh, so great to do that. Well, I got to around Golden Lakes, and this was on my second night, and it had rained. Of course, it's Mount Rainier. The weather systems are crazy unpredictable, which makes it a very dangerous mountain, by the way. Can't predict these things. Also makes it a fun mountain. All right, so I got into camp very late because, of course, you're doing over 30 miles a day on a trail that goes like this. Which, by the way, the Wonderland Trail, when flattened out, it's about 125 miles. Yeah, insane. All right, so what I did was I got into camp and I was shivering, and I was like, okay, thinking to myself, I got to get out of these wet clothes because my body temperature, I'm no longer moving, is just going to plummet. And so I stripped down naked. Thankfully, there was no one else there in the campsite, at least no one I could see because it was completely dark. And I snuggled into my sleeping bag and I was like, okay, I'm going to go into shock if I don't get some kind of dinner in my stomach, which, I was being stubborn, just walking and running, a lot of running. And I had to get some food in my tummy. Well, there I was, shivering and chewing on what felt like a brick. In reality, it was a protein bar. But you've probably gnawed on cold protein bars before. Yeah. Ooh, but I remember having a little candle with me, and I lit it, and I put it right there, and I sung happy birthday. No, I didn't. I'm pretty sure I was hallucinating, because it was definitely hypothermia. My body was going into shock. Really, really, really bad. But as I mentioned earlier, flames can, brighten your day. Fire is something magical. It's really cool. So I lit that and I just kind of huddled there, and it was getting really, really bad. I was like, okay, all right, I got to get my emergency blanket. And so I reached out and I opened up my first aid kit, pulled out my blanket, and somehow wrapped myself in it like a taco. Emergency space blankets, they work. They're awesome. Unfortunately, they're also extremely loud. They sound like that whenever you move and you're trying to sleep. So don't think and don't rely off of these things when you think that you're going to get a good night's sleep. But most importantly, it kept me warm. It immediately radiates the heat back into you. Such cool devices, inventions. I finally did do the whole thing in 3 days. And I got back, and one of my biggest lessons that I remember from that trip is the following. Always bring an extra pair of socks. Matter of fact, bring an extra pair of socks. Because I was in running shoes, not very waterproof at all. And when you're just kind of plugging along, you don't really want to stop and address your feet. Take care of your feet, people. Take care of them. And I got back and, well, I actually went to the foot doctor when I got back, said he could take a look at my toe. I'd broken my toe a long time ago in soccer. A kid stepped on it. So my toenail didn't quite grow back right. So he was looking at my toe because it's always fallen off. The toenail, that is, not my toe. Grows back like a lizard. And well, when I pulled off my socks at the doctor office after this trip, he said, well, okay, it looks like your toe is, oh my gosh, what did you do to your feet? Because it looked like I had went around a 95-mile trail on sandpaper. They were just shredded. They looked so bad. But the reason why they were so bad is that I had the same pair of socks and I only brought like one other pair. And it's not a matter of toughening out your feet because I can do that forever, whatever. Pain is not an issue, but your skin can only hold up to so much sand that seeps into your socks when you're running. And it really is like sandpaper, extremely abrasive. So bring an extra pair of socks. Even if you're ultralighting, bring an extra pair of socks that are dry. And so yeah, now that's the equivalent of my little flame, is my extra pair of socks. It's very psychological. It's very uplifting. I get into camp and I'm like, let's put on a fresh pair of socks.